and welcome to Audio Judo. That was very loud, but that's okay. Randy will fix it in post. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Matthew. Good evening or morning, whenever you happen to be listening to this.
They can listen to it whenever they feel like, so
I pray that you're listening to it.
please, somebody, God, listen to this podcast.
Right? This is another go. I'm not going to number the episodes.
It's a good choice.
I don't want to do it this time. We'll just say that we're going to give it another shot, see what happens. Another shot meaning maybe it's our 9th shot. Yeah. Or I don't know how many.
This one's going to be a little bit, we're going to try something different with this one.
I do want to make a point that I think in the scope of our previous episode, we may have said the name of the show 2 times total. Uh-huh. So I'm going to try to say it as often as possible.
Audio
This is Audio Judo.
Audio Judo.
Audio Judo.
Audio Judo.
Audio Judo.
You know, that's what we should go over really quick. Where did that name come from, Matthew?
Audio Judo?
Yeah, Audio Judo.
It was, it's kind of a, what's the word I'm looking for? Cannibalization of something we may or may not have heard at work.
We can go into it. It's called Verbal Judo.
Verbal Judo.
There's a wonderful book called Verbal Judo that apparently every police officer you've ever been harassed by has read, and it's all about disarming situations using speech.
Yeah, basically spinning the conversation in their direction.
Yeah.
So they kind of have command of the conversation.
But we had a security meeting at work a few months ago, and one of the security guards kept saying verbal judo.
Right, and
he said it like 3 times, and everyone was like, verbal judo? What is this guy talking about?
And we were intrigued by it.
It's a book by a very interesting character. I would highly recommend it. I actually bought it and read
Kyle
it.
bought it right away.
I started it, and then I put it down because I got another book, and I haven't picked it back up yet. So I got to finish it.
What was the other book?
The other book is called...
That Good.
Can't remember. Yeah, I can't remember the name of it. It's all about how architecture is designed, how criminals think of architecture.
Criminals
Think of architecture.
didn't know they did.
So, I don't want to go too deeply into this, but let's just say, let's say you're going to break into a building. They think of architecture differently than you would, because you and I would think, oh, how do I have to get into Matthew's house? I got to go through the door, right? They might think, well, I could go through a window, or I could cut a hole in the wall, or I could dig underneath it and dig up in from the basement.
Interesting. This is what distracted you from verbal judo.
This is what distracted me. Because it's been in my Amazon list. I pre-ordered it, and it's been in there for quite a while, and all of a sudden I was like, it's out.
All right.
I know. I'm a huge loser.
But we... researching verbal judo, that's the name we were going to use for the podcast.
We figured it was probably going to be a legal quagmire.
Right. Copyrighted, trademarked many times over. One of the co-authors is one of the authors of the Left Behind series.
Yes.
So I figure he's got the weight of probably many, many lawyers. Let's just steer our way out of that one.
He's got God on his side.
Yes, he does.
We didn't want to go against that again.
Do that daily, semi-daily.
Anyways, that's where the name came from. So,
Audio Judo.
Audio Judo.
And hopefully down the road, we will embark on some Audio Judo amongst ourselves.
Because that is one thing about this podcast. Every episode, maybe not every episode, we'll eventually get around to recycling these ideas. But
we'll run out of ideas, no doubt.
We're going to do a little something different with every single episode.
That's the hope.
Yeah, hopefully. So, like this episode, in fact, we're going to do something called Battle of the Earworms.
Earworms. Sounds gross.
Yeah.
But it isn't.
It is not an infection, although it is,
as far as we know,
infectious.
Oh, very nice. Nicely played.
Oh,
yes.
I've been thinking about that one for like a week. I just want to put that out there. I'm not that.
Well, it was well done.
Thank you. So here's what we're going to do. Matthew and I have each come up with an earworm song. A song, one of those songs that you hear it on the radio or in the store somewhere, and it worms its way into your brain, and you can't get it out for hours or days or weeks.
Yeah, that is true. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and I think what we're going to do is we each came up with one. We haven't told each other what the earworm is, so we may have to pause for a second to listen to the earworm if one of us hasn't heard it. And then, again, because we can't play any copyrighted music, we will tell you what the earworms are, and you too can pause the podcast and go listen to them. They should be pretty easy to find.
We give a little background on earworms. It's actually It's actually a real thing defined by scientists. It's referred to as involuntary musical imagery. Is the technical name for it. It is an actual thing where they've defined musically what really constitutes an earworm and how it gets into your brain specifically. Usually a group of ascending notes followed by quickly descending notes, and tempo is important and things of that nature that really define what an earworm is.
I had no idea about any of that.
Scientists, according to science. That's science.
You can tell I obviously did my research well. I never typed the word earworm into Google.
Well, you should have done that because I did.
That would have been smart.
Right? And, I don't, like I said, I don't know what Kyle's earworm is, but give you a broad overview. Hopefully it's not this one, but this one is the one that pretty much does it for everybody because everybody most people have waited in line at Disneyland for a specific ride.
Oh boy.
That drives you nuts. It's a small world. Gets into your head immediately. I mean, part of it is because there's no escape from it.
Yes.
Because the line is 45 minutes long, and you will hear that song over and over again for the duration of that 45 minutes, plus the, 2.5 minutes you're actually in the ride. But things like that are unavoidable. Sometimes they stay in your head for days, sometimes hours, but they are infectious and they don't go anywhere. They just stay there. Usually it can be flushed out by listening to something else, hopefully.
Yes.
That's usually how I flush out the earworm.
I have also heard that sometimes if you've only heard part of a song, like part of an earworm song, and you just keep like repeating the chorus in your head, I have heard if you sit down and actively listen to the song from beginning to end, your brain will kind of flush it out.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. We are familiar with some of the other ones. I researched a whole bunch of lists, people that, these are the top 9 earworms. These are the top 21 earworms. Beat It appears on almost all of those lists.
I could see that, yes. By Michael Jackson, who we're not at all familiar with.
I'm not familiar with that artist. I don't know.
Nobody knows who that is.
I don't know who that is. As I was going through the list, what I noticed is, earworm or just sing-along song. And I think there was a clear defining line because as I was going through them again, I don't know what's on. I don't know what year one is, but the way they were categorizing them, I'm like, okay, Don't Stop Believin'. Is that really an earworm, or is it just a song everybody really enjoys singing along to, or trying to sing karaoke to, or Final Countdown? Not an earworm for me, but when it's on, you just want to do the. And everybody wants to join in. And I think there's a clear defining line between a well-written song that everyone enjoys singing and an earworm that gets in your head and you can't get away from it even if you hate it. Especially when you hate it. So
it's funny that you would bring up the Final Countdown because that was actually the first song I thought of.
Oh.
And then I got thinking about it and I was like, really though, it's not, because everybody remembers the hook.
Right.
I just actually, that was on the radio today as I was coming into work, and I didn't know this, but apparently that started out as just a song they would play, Europe would play as they were going on stage. Just that hook was just the sound that they would play as they were going on stage, and then they'd kind of like roll into whatever their first song was. And then they were like, maybe we should turn this into like a real song, and they did. Yeah. That's where it came from.
And it's sad because that album that song is on actually has like 5 or 6 songs that are way better than Final Countdown. That's a story for another time. But it's like, oh, that's the only one you know?
Womp womp.
Wow. All right. So that's where we're at with earworms. So, Kyle, would you like to go? Would you like to?
Sure, I'll go first.
Okay.
The earworm that I picked, that may or may not actually be an earworm, now that I understand the definition of earworm, was Walking on Sunshine by Katrina and the Waves.
Katrina and the Waves. That's a good one.
Yeah, it's a very interesting. I had no idea about any of the backstory for it either.
Oh, really?
So I guess they kind of formed because Katrina of Katrina and the Waves was a military brat. So she's an American, but she was stationed in England with her father, and she was in a band called Mama's Kitchen. Anyways, she was in a band that toured around and played a bunch of military bases in England, and she was actually contacted by the lead of another band called The Waves, that was just kind of breaking up actually at the time. And he basically said, look, we really like your sound and we want a female lead singer because we think it'll be not only a good hook, but you're very talented. And he got in touch with her as she was literally like walking out the door with suitcases to move back to the United States. And they ended up forming a band. And the only place they could actually get, they self-recorded their first album that was just called Walking on Sunshine. And it had a version of Walking on Sunshine on it.
Sure.
That doesn't sound, it sounds very similar to the one that everybody knows, but not quite. And the only production company that would buy it was this Canadian production company. So it immediately
Crazy Canucks.
rose up the charts in Canada, became very popular. And then I think it was purchased by Columbia, I want to say they signed a contract with. And they came through and re-recorded it, re-recorded the whole album from beginning to end. But it's very interesting because it actually, the first version of it, the quote-unquote Canadian version, came out in 1983, but the version that everybody knows came out in 1985.
Really?
Yeah. There's not a lot of difference between the two. It just sounds a lot more finished.
That's weird. I felt like it would have been earlier than that.
Right?
Like, it felt like 82, like at the advent of MTV.
Yeah.
Because that was one of the first videos I remember seeing as a kid, was that one. So clearly not as a kid. Well, still a kid, but 13 at that point. And
another kind of weird fact is their first three albums, the first one was called, hey, a car just drove by.
right?
The first one was...
It's homie.
the first one was Walking on Sunshine. The second album was called Katrina and the Waves 2. The third album was called Katrina and the Waves.
Oh.
So the sequel came out before the
that's
actual
odd.
album. A little weird, but just...
And then he had no other hits, to my knowledge.
They did. They
Minor
had
hits?
one more called, I don't remember now, and unfortunately I didn't write it down because I only wrote down stuff about Walking on Sunshine. But it was they performed in the Eurovision Song Contest in 1997,
Okay.
and apparently like swept the finals. I want to say the song was "I Love You." I'll look it up here in just a second while you're talking.
Never heard of it.
I have never heard the song either. It's
interesting.
Honestly, I feel kind of bad. I didn't even listen to it. I was like, "Oh, Eurovision Song Contest next."
That's smart.
Yeah.
I just like
Sorry,
that
Europe.
song is the problem that I have is that I love that song, and that's hard for it to be an earworm to me because I enjoy every time I hear it. I still enjoy listening to it, so it doesn't aggravate me, and it doesn't get to the point where it's gnawing at the back of my head. Like I keep hearing this song, and I don't want to hear it anymore.
So do you feel like an earworm has to be aggravating?
I feel that way. It's something that you can't shake out of your head. That, like, if you're not actively listening to other music or whatever, and you're just going about your day, and it's constantly just like scraping at the back of your head, and I'm like, I don't want to hear this anymore. And it usually ticks me off. Like I said, I did that. I did a sociological experiment at softball the other day just to see how this would go. I started humming a song that I don't really care to listen to anymore. And by the end of the night, 3 or 4 people were actually singing the song out loud, and they're like, where did I hear that? It was Captain of Her Heart, by the way. And they're like, why am I singing that? And I'm like, because I've been walking back and forth in the dugout going over and over again. And they're like, oh, what? I don't want to hear that. I'm like, exactly.
Now
Nobody did.
Even worse, now that's planted in thousands of podcast listeners.
Right? You're welcome, everybody.
We hope. Thousands, we hope.
Right? Over and over again. You're going to hear. You won't be able to get rid of it. You're welcome. You're welcome, America, or planet Earth.
Ooh.
Now, my earworm is a little more wormy
Okay.
because as soon as I say it, you'll want to finish it. Mah Na Mah Na.
Oh, I can't say it. I can't say it.
You have to.
That is the perfect earworm.
Yeah, finish it. You'd want to. You have to.
Deep deeba.
Mah Na Mah Na. Do, 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 do.
Mana.
Do, 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 do.
Copyright infringement.
I'm going to stop right here.
Yeah.
Okay. But that's the one that gets me.
Oh, that is a...
Right, and that's a Muppets song. So it was originally written by Jim Henson and premiered on the Red Skelton Show in 1969.
Whoa.
He played it on there, and a producer of another show decided they loved it so much they were going to hire this guy, this ragtag puppeteer who was on the Red Skelton Show, to come and guest on Sesame Street, and he brought that song with him. And that was kind of like the advent of Jim Henson and Muppets in your face, right? That is the one that it doesn't matter where I'm at, but if someone walks by and just says, Mah Na Mah Na, you can't stop. You have to finish it, and you keep going until it's done, and you hear it the rest of the day. You just keep hearing it. It drives me absolutely up a wall. And I love it. I'm a huge Muppets fan, but it is. It's the one that's like, can't get rid of it.
What's weird is the first time I heard that song, it was not the Muppets version of that song. It was like a cover, and I can't for the life of me remember.
The Banana Splits?
No. It was a cover. My mom had a 45, like a single record.
Yeah.
That was...
You sure it wasn't?
I am positive it was not, because the other side of the album was a song called Kookie's Mad Pad, which I think that was actually the A side, and Mah Na Mah Na was the B side.
What was it again?
Kookie's Mad Pad.
Kookie's Mad Pad.
It's such a stupid song too. That one's like a man. It's a mad pad. It's a crazy pad, and then it's just like weird freeform jazz, like.
Yeah.
It's a crazy pad. He's got mohair rugs. Like, that's not at all exactly what the song is, but it's close enough.
Yeah, so that is that's the one for me. I had other ones written down on my list.
That is a fantastic one. I was gonna, at the end of this, I was gonna be like, we should get people to vote online about which one is the better earworm. You already won. I can't.
I had like Rick Astley had never gonna give you up on there.
Oh, that's a good one.
Right, it is a good one. But again, that one is more intentionally designed nowadays to cause harm to people, like Rick rolling people. That's just meant to piss people off now. Then I had YMCA, and I feel like that's almost like a sing-along one though, because as soon as you start playing that at a wedding, like even 95-year-old great grandma's up, like I want to do it.
Yeah,
YMCA.
Yeah. I don't care about my hip.
Mickey by Tony Basil.
Oh, that's a good one.
Is one that I can't stand because everybody knows it. Everybody's excited about it. Oh, that is a never-ending story. Is a quality one. Producer Randy with the chime in there, and it's such bullshit too because it totally ends. That story ends. It's such a lie. It was like 90 minutes. What else do we have? Well, for the newer, younger crowd, like All About the Bass. People love that song. The Andy Griffith theme.
Oh, that's another good one.
That damn whistle. Oh.
That's going to be stuck in your head already now, isn't it?
It is already. Like, this list is just, it's terrible. And for all the youngsters out there, or people that enjoy subpar animation movies, let it go over and over again.
Oh, God.
Right?
That is definitely an earworm.
It's terrible. I know a lot, of people love that song, but
the sequel's coming out this year.
Yes,
so
I'm aware.
Get ready.
So there'll be a Let It Go too.
Get ready, everybody. That to me, like, can you imagine working on a project like a sequel to something like that, and they're like, "All right, you got to write a song better than that. Go." And you're just like, "Fuck! I don't know what to do. Keep it here. Keep it here.
Wait.
Never let it go." I'm like, no, what am I gonna do?
Oh, that was beautiful.
I mean, can you imagine? Being
someone's listening out there right now, going,
right?
"Oh my God, that's gold!
Genius.
That's gold, Kyle. Gold,
gold." Like, how do you even begin to write a sequel to something like that millions of children, it's stuck in their heads and they just sit there and play with their toys and sing it over and over and over again? How do you even begin?
You don't. Oh, and another one. Kyle can appreciate this one, and for all you fans of more grown-up animation, if I just do bird, right? It's gold, Mr. Flugelman.
Gold, Mr. Flugelman.
It's gold.
Yeah. You know the only problem with you listing all those earworms?
What's that?
We can't use any of those in a future episode where we do an earworm battle now.
Oh, crap. Well, I spoiled it for everybody,
You
didn't I?
ruined it for everybody.
But I was trying to get to the root of earworms.
Yeah, I like that though. I do like it. So here's why I think Walking on Sunshine is a good earworm.
All right, I'm listening.
First of all, every time you hear it, it gets stuck in your head for at least a couple of days, right?
Yes.
Second of all, basically their only popular song, so kind of a one-hit wonder situation, but also used very, very, very frequently in movies and television as like specifically just a mood-creating song.
Yes, any of your standard rom-com movies.
Yes, I've got a list.
Oh, I'll bet you do.
So IMDb has a total of 68 appearances of this song in TV and movies.
Hold on. You think she's ever worked again?
I looked this up, actually. She does.
Does she have to?
I'm sure she doesn't have to.
Okay.
I'm sure the whole band doesn't have to. I know I can't think of his name now. I should have written their names down like an idiot. I didn't. Rew something, R-E-W something. He is the guitar player, I believe. Mm-hmm. And he, he wrote he's written books since then.
Oh.
So has she. I don't know whether she actually writes or not. Katrina,
Books,
I should say.
huh?
Yes.
All right.
It's appeared in at least 68 films and movies.
68 films and movies.
Here's all the ones you'll probably recognize. I only listed 67 of them, so
What?
I'm just kidding. Three Identical Strangers, The Goldbergs, Workaholics, BoJack Horseman, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Supernatural, EastEnders, The Big Bang Theory, 90210, United States of Terra, Cougar Town, Moon, New in Town. That's two different things, by the way. Cougar Town is one TV show, and Moon is a movie.
New in Town is something different.
New in Town is a film. It's not the John Mulaney stand-up special.
Okay.
That's what I thought too. I was like, oh, it's in an episode.
When was it in that?
It's in an episode of The Angry Video Game Nerd. It's in Prison Break, Cold Case, Daddy Daycare, The Master of Disguise, The Office, Grounded for Life, High Fidelity, American Psycho, King of the Hill, Sports Night, Beavis and Butthead, the TV show, not the movie. Look Who's Talking, Bean, the Mr. Bean movie.
Oh, okay.
And The Secret of My Success with Michael J. Fox, which is a great movie.
It is a good movie. That's the height of his powers.
More importantly, I think, than all of that.
Uh-oh. Yes.
There's one show that it was used in that I think is why it is cemented in my brain as an earworm. Let's imagine you're trying to think 1,000 years in the future, right? Mm-hmm. And you're trying to think to yourself, what song should survive 1,000 years and still be stuck in somebody's head as an earworm? And that song is Walking on Sunshine by Katrina and the Waves, because it's in the TV show Futurama.
I kind of felt that's where you were headed.
That's Fry's go-to song. He doesn't know any of the other lyrics except Walking on Sunshine, whoa, oh.
That's all you really need to know.
That's all you really need to know. To me, that was the real sinker, why I was like, oh yeah, that's definitely an earworm, because Futurama had a very smart writer's room.
Sure.
And they had to sit down and be like, what song would he still, like, obviously he didn't live out the 1,000 years, but what song should be stuck in his head that everybody's going to recognize immediately, that he can only sing one line of over and over and over again, but people are going to be like, oh yeah, he knows the whole song.
I could see 1,000 years of being an earworm. 34 years removed from its debut.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not so wormy.
Not so earwormy yet.
So wormy.
It's got to come back around
right?
again.
Yeah.
All right.
But it's a lot of films.
It is.
There's a lot of places.
And like I said, those are only the ones that I recognize. There's a whole bunch of others on there that are,
like where in the movie they occur, or the TV show, and it is the mood lifter, and it's usually not used as a background piece as much as it kind of takes over the audio, and it's the people doing something else. So it's not like under the dialogue. It's just like
a lot of times it's a montage. Like,
thank you. That's the word I couldn't.
They're like, what are we going to do? They got to get all psyched up and ready for the dance. What are they going to do? Used to think, and then they get the dance all ready and everything.
Now I have it in my head.
Yeah, there it is. Shit. Told you.
That was just mean.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Everybody else has to deal with it too.
Thousands of podcast listeners.
Thousands.
Please, God.
Right?
Thousands of podcast listeners.
Right? Many, many thousands. So I was looking up, defining what the earworm is. It has a couple other names besides involuntary musical imagery. It's also known as a cognitive itch and a stuck song syndrome, which I'm not impressed with that name, but that is what it's called. This report says earworms are usually 15 to 30 seconds in length and are more common in those with an interest in music. See, that makes sense. So if you have an affinity for music in general, you will probably be more affected by the earworms.
You sort of pick out like the technical aspects of it.
Right. I know that It's a Small World just bugs the crap out of me when we're there. And Heather was like, what? Like, right? What do you mean, what? You don't hear that? I've heard the song. I'm like, it's not like you don't want to stab somebody right now? Because I do. Happiest place on earth, my ass. Like, this is terrible.
So I was trying to remember, this was kind of interesting too, what all the members of Katrina and the Waves were doing before they were all in bands before they started, but none of them were very successful bands. So like I know Katrina was washing dishes and good Lord. Vagging groceries. That's a term.
That's a thing.
Washing dishes and bagging groceries. Vince was drilling holes in bowling balls. Alex was working in a morgue carrying around dead bodies, and Kimberly was a postman.
That's it?
That's it. But that to me is the weirdest collection of like, oh yeah, I was waiting tables and bagging groceries, and he worked in a morgue and he was drilling holes in bowling balls.
And now you have a
hit song.
Hit song that's in everybody's brain.
Yeah.
It looks like further research. It looks like the earliest incident of the earworm, Mark Twain, in 1876, wrote a story called "A Literary Nightmare," and it's about a jingle that one can get rid of only by transferring it to another person.
Ooh.
So it's that like that thing you want. And again, I think that's where we're at an impasse, where I believe the earworm is a negative connotation for this phenomenon.
And I think that it could be positive.
Right. But
I don't know if that's necessarily an impasse. I think it's just a difference of opinion.
Isn't that an impasse?
Not necessarily.
Okay, then.
To me, an impasse is that I would agree that it can definitely also be negative. Like you said.
You don't care for my terminology?
It's a small world. It drives me freaking insane, man.
As it should.
I can't.
It should. It's terrible. It's torture. It's torture for parents. It's torture for everybody.
Although, it is incredibly horrible sounding. Have you ever been on It's a Small World when the audio cuts out and then you just hear and you just hear like whirling things and you're like, it's so quiet in here except all this machinery.
Ooh.
It's horrible.
See, and that's okay. So Arthur C. Clarke of 2001 fame,
yes,
wrote a story called "The Ultimate Melody," in which a scientist develops the ultimate melody, one that so compels the brain that its listener becomes completely and forever enraptured by it.
Ooh.
Theorized that a great melody made its impression on the mind because it fitted in with the fundamental electrical rhythms going on in the brain.
Ooh.
Attempts to abstract from the hit tunes of the day to a melody that fits in so well with the electrical rhythms that it dominates them completely. He succeeds and is found in a catatonic state from which he never awakens.
Wow.
Right? So,
was it
horrible earworm.
Was it Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer due?
Why did you do... Why did you just do that?
Because it's from 2001: A Space Odyssey, also by Arthur C. Clarke.
It is?
Yeah. Well, it's so...
Still hung up
Hal
on
sings
Cookie's Mad Pad thing.
Hal sings that. Hal, the computer, sings that as it's as they're deprogrammed, as they're pulling all of his memory chips. And the reason he picked that song was because it was the first song sung by a computer. So there was I want to say it's an IBM machine probably that they had programmed to mimic the human voice, and it could sing that song. There's video of it if you want to go look it up, but it's very...
Maybe I will.
It's very computerized. Surprise! A computer from the 40s or 50s sounds very computerized. Who'd have thought?
Who'd have thought that?
Nobody. Not one person ever.
Yeah, so you should, listeners... Notice I used the plural there.
Ooh.
Not just listeners.
Listeners of this podcast, which is called Audio Judo.
Yes, you should send us your... Oh, crap.
Yeah, don't have them send us their earworms. Send us your suggestions for an earworm.
But where are they going to send them? See, that's the problem.
Send them. We'll post contact information in the show notes, which you should... so if you're listening to this on any podcast software, should be able to look just below the description, and there will be a contact information. Chances are it will be info. I'm not going to say that. It'll be an info email address.
Okay.
You can contact us on Facebook or Twitter.
That's true. Audio Judo.
Instagram, maybe.
I haven't set up the gram yet. But send us your, Send us your suggestions.
Yeah, send us your suggestions. Please, for the love of God, do not send us links to earworms. We will just die.
Yeah,
we'll
that's
just We'll both sink into a catatonic state.
Right? If one of them is the ultimate melody,
That's a
that could
possibility.
happen. It's kind of like, I may have talked about this before, Lifehouse. Familiar with that? The Pete Townsend project that he worked on post Quadrophenia.
Okay.
So he had this idea about...
But go on.
About a band that does the same concert over and over again with the same crowd of people trying to achieve nirvana, to get to this perfect note that would enlighten everybody. And that's similar. It's like the catatonic, the ultimate melody. So that's what he was searching for, is a project called Lifehouse that never really got off the ground. He recycled some of his songs like Bob O'Reilly and stuff like that for Who's Next and scrapped it. And then he redid it in the 90s. It was terrible. But that's kind of where the idea comes from, where they're searching for, this is, instead of one perfect melody, they were searching for one perfect note that set the whole place ablaze. Did
it fail because they discovered that note and it was the brown note? And the whole audience was just like, yay! Oh no!
Oh, no. We really enjoyed
this. This club is closed down. The only solution is to burn it to the ground.
You have to. But it's a fascinating idea. It's just a little bit far-fetched, as most of his ideas were.
Very science fiction-y.
Definitely. But that's kind of where I was headed with that. So.
Interesting.
But send us suggestions. Send us show ideas.
Yeah.
Where could we head with the next one? I know either next episode or 2 episodes from now, we will be having guests with us.
Oh, yeah.
So some promotion and some new music and some good people. So that's the point there.
Yeah. Also, feel free to contact us and tell us how much we suck.
Right?
No, that wasn't what I was going to say.
Yeah, feel free to do that too.
You can do that if you want. But I was going to say, contact us. Let us know, if you think that Walking on Sunshine or Mah Na Mah Na. Thank you. Is an earworm. Tell us your story. We'll try to read it in the next podcast. If somebody actually takes the time to write a story and be like, the first time I heard Walking on Sunshine, I was about to kill myself. And then, I heard that on the radio out the window and I took the gun out of my mouth and lived the rest of my life. You tell us a fun story like that.
I will read it word for word.
Absolutely.
I will not paraphrase that in the slightest. Whoa.
Excuse me.
Randy will take that right out.
Thank you, Randy. I appreciate you removing my burps and farts from the podcast, but not me talking about burping and farting into the microphone.
No,
on
definitely
the podcast.
leave that on the podcast.
Yes.
You want to wrap it up?
Yeah, I think that's, again, try to, contact us. Hope you enjoyed the episode and tune in next time.
Thanks for listening. Audio Judo.
Two Berkeley Trust Fund students have discovered a never-before-heard instrument from the jungles of sub-Saharan Africa, and here's a 2-hour sample of the music.
I listened to that one. It was great.